few months ago I bought 30 kilograms or 60 pounds of Retrotech spares or repair on eBay. Today we're going to revisit that lot, take a look at some of the repairs and see how I did. Hello and welcome to Retrotech Repair. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you know that a few months ago I bought 30 kilograms of Retrotech on eBay. I paid £125, which for me is a fairly significant purchase, and literally two of you have asked, how did it go? So today we're going to take a look at some of those things in more detail. We'll see what worked and what didn't, we'll see some of the repairs that happened along the way, and we're going to take a look finally at whether I made money or not on this particular bulk purchase. So let's take a quick look at the recap from the unboxing video to remind ourselves what we're going to be looking at today. So just a quick recap of what we got, because I need to get this back in the box. Anyway, we have an Xbox 360, a Commodore 64C, an original Xbox, a Sony PlayStation, a Sega Mega Drive 2, fake or aftermarket cassette drive, genuine Commodore cassette drive, Xbox remote control, a mystery foot pedal, a Firefox X7 from Grandstand, a Logitech Xbox precision vibration feedback wheel, in addition to all that stuff, an Acorn Electron, another PlayStation 1, a Grandstand 3600, all spares or repairs untested on eBay. So now let's take a look at that eBay listing. So here's our eBay listing. Vintage computer console job lot, family owned, spares or repair, not tested, $99.99. I actually paid a little bit more than that. I think I paid $115 plus 10 shipping, so a total of $125. So that was some time ago now, and now's our chance to find out whether I got a good deal or not. Let's take a look at the first item. So first of all, we're going to start with one of my favourites, the Grandstand Firefox X7. As you saw it coming out of the box, it was much dirtier than this. I've given it a really good clean up, but not much else, because when I put batteries in it, this is what happened. So yes, you guessed it, the Firefox X7 worked perfectly right out of the box, so all that really cost me was just a little bit of elbow grease and a few basic cleaning materials. Now if you'd like to see a Firefox X7 repaired, I do have a different video on the channel which shows me doing that, but this one is destined for eBay. And then there's our friend, the TV game, Grandstand 3600 Mark III. I'm not sure whether this is fairly late in the kind of Pong era, but it's a nice little unit. Now, unfortunately, this particular example, as you can see, is quite yellowed, although it may have been beige to start with. The battery compartment was pretty nasty. In fact, still is pretty nasty. The terminals that were in there were rusty, so actually I just cut those out because in reality, they were never going to be repaired. I would only have to replace them, and what's the point replacing them? Because this particular game came with the all-important AC adapter. And this is what happened when I plugged it in and tuned in my television. So I actually had quite a lot of fun playing with the old TV game, and although the gun didn't work on an LCD display, I was pleasantly surprised by how entertaining the Pong games were. However, this isn't the best example, and although it's a nice colour game, if I was going to keep a Pong game in my collection, this probably wouldn't be it. So this one too is destined for eBay. Okay, so next up for assessment from the job lot that we bought spares or repair is our Sega Mega Drive 2. Now this looks to be in reasonable cosmetic condition, a quick shake, doesn't expose any rattles, power switch is a bit wobbly but seems to work, and generally it looks to be fairly clean. No obvious screw damage, so perhaps this has never been opened. Hopefully it was just replaced with something different and has survived. Now, it came with a few accessories. So we have a generic Techno Plus Mega Control Pad. Not sure about that. We have a Mega Drive control pad, which is quite nice. Original, seems to be in reasonable condition. But then we also have this other Sega branded control pad. And actually, I don't know the difference. This is a bit smaller than the Mega Drive one. And it has more buttons. So this has an ABC and an XYZ. Or as Americans would say, an ABC and an XYZ. Whereas here, with this one labeled just Mega Drive controller, doesn't have the XYZ and obviously is significantly larger. And I don't know what that really means. Maybe they're from different versions of the game. Not so sure. But anyway, we got those as well. We got a few other things. We got a power supply, all important power supply. And that is a 9 volt DC power supply with a center positive, just for anybody who might be interested. Also, we got this RF adapter, RF out adapter, which is nice because the Mega Drive 2 has a non-standard plug. Looks like that's just 3 pins. I assume that goes in there. Guess has an RF out. Bit of an awkward fit. But, you know, the good news though, there's a few other things that I have, and these didn't come in the job lot. So other things that I have a 196 in 1 cartridge. I'm sure all genuine, fully licensed games. 196 in 1, bought that on eBay. I think that was about, I can't remember. I need to take a look at the listing for that. Maybe 15 quid. I'll take a look in a moment. And then also I have a Mega Drive composite video lead. I actually had this from an earlier repair, ended up not using it, so I have that too. And this is probably what we're going to use to connect the Mega Drive up to the TV if it fits. And it looks like maybe it will. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check the voltage on the power supply, and I'll find out how much I paid for this. Okay, so my multimeter probe wouldn't quite fit down this connector on our Mega Drive, so I'm just going to use an auxiliary wire there, just a little jumper cable if it will stay in place. And hopefully you can see the meter in shot. We'll just put the meter on there and see if we can get a voltage reading off this. There it is, 13.8. A little high perhaps. At 13 volts, I'm prepared to take the risk. Given this was a spares or repair game, I wouldn't necessarily encourage you to do the same. In fact, I wouldn't encourage you to do anything that I do because I don't know what I'm doing at all. But I'm prepared to plug this into here and see what happens. So while I'm setting that up, I can confirm the price of the multi-cart was £15 or near enough, £14.99, and I think I paid about £5 for the cable. So all told, this Mega Drive now owes me about 20 quid. But as you can see, it seems to work okay, and although at first I thought the display was a little bit blue, I later discovered that was just the colour settings on my TV, and the game seems to play just fine. So after the success of our Sega Mega Drive here, I think we're going to move on next to our PlayStation. So let's see how those do. So here are the 2 PlayStations that we got out of our job lot. And the first thing that I notice is actually they're not the same. So this one has power and open written language and a reset. This has a reset but a power switch with a symbol and a kind of eject button symbol on there as well, not open, like this example over here. This one's a little bit yellowed, this one's a little bit less yellowed. Of course, this one has a memory card in, which we'll take out of the way, so the comparison looks the same. The biggest difference, though, is if we look at the rear of this one, it has serial I/O, audio left and right, composite video, RFU DC out, I'm not quite sure what's going on with that, and an AV multi out. Maybe that's for the switch box or something. I don't quite remember how that works. We'll take a look at what cables we got with it. And then a parallel I/O. If I look on the back of this one, it doesn't have the parallel I/O port, and it has serial I/O here, which that one also has. No composite video out, and an AV multi out. Different altogether. The model number is different, SCP-H9002 versus SCP-H1002. So some of the accessories that I got with this original PlayStation controller, I think when you got them new they only came with one, if I remember rightly, certainly. The first one's in the UK. We have an aftermarket PlayStation 1 controller in red, a bit cheap and nasty, but it's there. Another, this is a DualShock, also PlayStation 1. I must admit, I don't remember the DualShock being on the PlayStation 1. Maybe, obviously I'm mistaken, but yeah, DualShock for a PlayStation 1, normal PlayStation 1 controller, and aftermarket controller. Then I have I think a PlayStation 2 SCART cable. Hopefully that fits, I'll double check that. Yeah, that seems to fit in there. So hopefully that fits and works, we'll see. And then a PlayStation to RF cable. I had to buy some software because I didn't have any PlayStation games. And the game that I bought, and I bought it only because it was the cheapest buy it now game on eBay, was Rascal Racers. And in fact, they did show it working at the time, so I'm hoping that this is going to play. It is age 3+, so I'm not expecting a massive amount of engagement, but it will be a nice way to test our PlayStations. Here goes. Yeah, a little stutter on the Sony welcome screen there. Sorry about the angle on the TV. It's not a great TV in terms of viewing angle. Nice in lots of other ways, but not perfect for that. Maybe if we dim the lights a little, we'll see more. Little bit noisy, but look at that. It does seem to work. How about that? A little bit of disk drive noise, like I say, but apart from that, this seems to be a functioning PlayStation, assuming the controls work as they're supposed to. Let's try it out.
So we'll just mute the audio in case the music from Rascal Racers went on to be a #1 hit around the world. I sold the working PlayStation on eBay with controllers for £27. Let's move on to the next one.
So here's our second console. This one has, again, an AV out, so we'll probably just use the same SCART lead, but we'll extract our Rascal Racers CD from this, and we'll just switch everything around and connect up our second PlayStation. So a very quick Google suggested that in fact this SCPH9002 is kind of the latest iteration of the PlayStation before they moved to the PS1 kind of minimal platform. Lost some ports, actually has improved graphics processing, I understand, over the older generation, and this has been one of the earlier generation consoles, being the 1002, so it seems that we have one of the first and in fact one of the last iterations of the Sony PlayStation and its original guise before transferring to the PS1. I think that's very interesting. I hope you do too.
So interesting though it is, you may have spotted from the pictures that our early PlayStation 1 isn't actually reading any discs, so let's see if we can figure out what's going on with that.
So when I first got this PlayStation and appraised it, I found that it wasn't reading the CD, and I assumed at that point that perhaps it was a laser related issue, but I think actually it wasn't. There's a reason for that. If I open this up now, you can hopefully see, and I'll lift it up to the camera so I hope you can see that the center section where the CD would normally go, part of that's missing. Now it wasn't missing. What happened was I put a game into it. When I pulled the game out came the game itself with the CD, and then out came these things too. The part that holds together the middle of, or holds the compact disc in place whilst it's in play. So these bits have broken. Now you can buy a new replacement kind of hub for the PlayStation, and I think it fits all models. It replaces this disc here, this center disc, which I'm struggling to get some light on that for you to see, but it replaces that bit too. And it also replaces this plastic part that goes in the middle, and the O-ring and the ball bearings. They're not expensive, probably £4 or £5, maybe a bit less than that even. But what I wanted to try and do is repair this one that I have. All of the parts are here on this one. It's just that there are tiny little micro cracks all the way around its perimeter and around the centre, which have allowed it to release the ball bearings. And of course it's no longer glued to this centre section inside of the PlayStation. So what we're going to try and do is, with the soldering iron, I'm going to try and melt those cracks back together. I don't know whether it's going to work or not, but I reckon it's worth trying in order to save a little bit of money.
So at this point you're probably asking yourself, well, why save only £4? Well, at the time of recording this video, a fully working PlayStation, console only, without controller and cables, which of course I don't have because I used them on the first one, sells on eBay for about £20. A non-working PlayStation sells on eBay for about £15, so I wouldn't make any more money by repairing the console. Now, of course, making money isn't the point of this channel, but it is perhaps the point of this video, so let's press on with our attempted repair. So with the hub melted back together, I do a quick test fit of the O-rings and the ball bearings inside of the hub. Then I carefully apply some super glue to the centre, being careful not to contact the areas where the O-ring and the ball bearings would sit, reassemble the ball bearings and O-ring into the hub, and glue the hub back into the centre of the PlayStation spindle.
Oh, it's stuck to my finger quite nicely. Hopefully it'll stick in place to the centre spindle of the PlayStation 2.
So as you can see, I did get the PlayStation working, but when I listed it on eBay, I sold it only as spares or repair because I think it's only appropriate to the new buyer that they don't think they're getting something which is perfect. Of course, it probably could have been restored to almost perfect condition if I'd have spent £4. I also sold the DualShock controller separately for a tenner.
So up next is our Commodore 64. Now, I did give this a good clean. This thing was absolutely filthy. But really, I've just basically cleaned it up with Windex, window cleaner, and a little bit of furniture polish, and it's come up quite nicely. I've not retro-brighted it. I did take it to pieces, brush down the printed circuit assembly, but when I plugged it in, it almost worked. Now, the thing that didn't quite work was, in fact, the keyboard, and I thought perhaps we got a keyboard problem. Well, I suppose we did have a keyboard problem, but it wasn't that significant. This key here was stuck down, and when I took the keycap off, there was no spring underneath. So what I did was I just cut a little bit of a spring down that I had from another repair. I forget what it was. Now pop that under there. It's a little bit stiff, but it does the job. I suppose if you were touch typing, that would be difficult, but you can type on the rest of it just fine. And then if you need to hit that key, whatever that is, that takes a little bit more effort. But other than that, I think this is ready to go. So let's just plug it in and double check, and we'll take the opportunity to test out also the data cassette that I got with it. This is a aftermarket data recorder, and we have a original Commodore 1 to try too. The power supply, I did check the voltage on the power supply. At first I got no voltage out of it at all. It turned out that there was no there was no fuse in the plug, so that was the problem there. Put it all together, everything seems to work. So let's try that data recorder. I had to buy a couple of cassettes to try it with. They're not the best games, but we'll try it and we'll see. Okay, that all seems to work, so it might be time to try our other data set, the original Commodore 1. Now, I did change the belt in this. Now, I didn't have a proper belt specific for this, so I just had a bag of various sizes of drive belts that I bought on eBay. So we'll pop one of those in and we'll see if that works too.
It did.
So this might be just the game to test my zipstick joystick. Left, right, up and down. Oh, the zipstick works great. So another mystery solved. Our zipstick has a little bit of mechanical damage, a bit of fraying on the cable there. Probably put some heat shrink or something over that. But both fire buttons work, and it works just fine. Up and down, left and right.
So before we move on to the Xbox OG and the Xbox 360, let's take a look at some of the other things in our lot. The Acorn Electron you may have seen already. I repaired it on a separate video that's available on the channel. It's sold on eBay for £50. Also worth a mention are the foot pedal, which turned out to be from a company called Quickjoy. That sold for about £9. Then we have the Logitech vibration feedback wheel for Xbox. That was in pristine condition, looked like it had never been used, and that sold for about £18.
So I should warn you, I know absolutely nothing about the Xbox, any of the flavours or variants. In fact, I don't even know what they all are. I know this is the original one. I've always been a PlayStation person, but actually I really like this. It just feels really meaty in my hands. It just feels like a big solid piece of kit. I'm really quite excited to own this. So if I can get this repaired, I might have difficulty giving this one up, but we'll see. First of all, let's power it up and see if it plays. All right. So the date and time needs to be set, but that's not a big surprise. Somebody told me there is a super cap inside of one of these. It was a comment actually in my unboxing video. Somebody commented that there was a super cap inside of one of these. And in fact, that often failed and it resulted in the clock not keeping the correct time. So for now though, it's going to be the 15th of the 11th, 2001. When I did the unboxing, I did actually go and buy a couple of games discs. I bought, it says Need for Speed Underground, but it's not. It's Midtown Madness, because that was actually the version that came with it originally. The one that I bought spares or repair on eBay didn't have it, but in fact it was part of the bundle when it was originally new. I did get the original box. So actually I bought both of these games. I bought the Halo game and I bought the Midtown Madness game. Now the seller did mention when I bought this that he felt it had a disk error when it was put in the shed, so I'm not massively optimistic that it's going to read the disk. The light is flashing here, but there's not much activity beyond that. Here, maybe the disk is spinning up in there. No, it seems to have stopped.
So it should warn you at this point that's probably about the most exciting thing that happened with our Xbox. My console wouldn't read the discs, and it wouldn't give a disk error either. It was almost as if it didn't recognise that the disk was actually in there at all. Now this of course could have been user error, so if you are screaming at the screen now, look, you need to do this or you need to do that, well, I just wish you'd been with me when I was trying to repair it, because whatever it was I was supposed to do, I didn't figure it out.
Okay, so we need to work out how to get inside this.
I have literally hours and hours of footage of me trying to repair the Xbox, and in fact many hours were spent off camera trying to figure it out too. Of course, one of the first things I tried was cleaning the laser with some IPA.
Dirt on there, I see some marks on that cotton bud, so if you can see that, yeah, some marks on that cotton bud, so maybe this just was dirty and we should put it back together and try it and see if that made a difference.
It wasn't just dirty, I did try it, and it didn't make a difference.
And there's no recognition of the game disc at all, just like before. I feel this is vibrating, it feels like it's spinning. But it's not reading the disc.
So at the time I recorded this, there is somebody selling original generation refurbished Xbox DVD drives on eBay. Unfortunately, he didn't seem to be doing that at the time when I recorded this original video, and in fact getting hold of a working Xbox drive was quite expensive, and getting hold of a laser was almost impossible. So I embarked on a mission to find a PC drive from the same era which had the same laser as was in the Samsung drive in my Xbox.
Okay, so here is our Xbox drive. And here is our SD616 drive. And I already know the answer to this because actually I've had a look, and when I remove this, I've already removed the printed circuit assembly. Voila! I see that the laser assemblies here, these pieces, the laser assemblies, are in fact identical. Well, not quite identical, but close enough, and I wonder whether this might be a aftermarket one. It doesn't seem quite as developed as this, but it does have a mark on it, and it says it is an SOH D16, and this one says it is an SOH D16. So we have the same laser assembly in this drive as we do in this one.
I should mention at this stage that I'd already tried tweaking the pots in the original Xbox drive, and it didn't make any difference. So I'm now painstakingly transferring the laser mechanism from the PC drive to the Xbox drive.
Oh dear. This isn't looking very promising.
And in fact it wasn't very promising at all. Everything behaved just as it did before. So I set about cleaning and testing the switches in the drive. There are two switches, I think they're drawer closed and drawer open or something like that. They seem to be working fine. I also checked the various lines on the smaller of the two connectors from the drive, and as far as I was able to tell, everything was just fine. So although originally I'd really wanted to keep the Xbox, unfortunately its fate was to be the same as the other things that we've seen in the video today. But not before I'd spent £34 trying to fix it, leaving me with, before eBay fees, a very modest profit. So let's see if I do any better with the Xbox 360. Now, it's fair to say initial signs weren't good.
Error 74. And that's all it does. Can't open the tray. Oh, I can open the tray. Well, that's good. I can open the tray, but it's not going to do anything because I have this error 74.
So I do have another video coming on the Xbox 360, so I'm not going to spoil the surprise. But what I am going to tell you is how much money I made on this, and before eBay fees, I made a grand profit of -£5. So let's tally everything up, factor in the fees, and see what the total profit was.
Anyway, we have an Xbox 360, a Commodore 64C, an original Xbox, a Sony PlayStation, a Sega Mega Drive 2, a mystery foot pedal, a Firefox X7 from Grandstand, a Logitech Xbox precision vibration feedback wheel, in addition to all that stuff, an Acorn Electron, another PlayStation 1, a Grandstand 3600, all spares or repairs untested on eBay.
And of course the fun doesn't stop there. There's a couple of items that weren't shown on the reboxing video that also were in the job lot, including the DualShock 2 controller and the Zipstick joystick. So all of the numbers that I gave you are gross income, so it includes not just the final sale price of the item, but also the shipping fee. So I have shipping fees, PayPal fees, eBay fees, and a little bit of packing material to deduct from the total income. These came to approximately £120, giving an approximate total profit of £88. So I think I got particularly lucky with this lot. A lot of the things could just be cleaned up and sold on. That's not always the case. And in fact I have hours of footage of things that I've bought, couldn't repair, and ultimately didn't feature on the channel. To add a little bit of further context, this video is edited with Final Cut Pro, and I've been using the evaluation version of Final Cut Pro for about 90 days. I've just purchased the full version of it, and it sells for £299 in the UK. Another way to look at it is that I estimate I spent about 100 hours making the videos and doing the repairs that go along with them. This gives me an hourly rate of 88 pence. But very few hobbies are free, and I've really enjoyed making the video. I hope that you've enjoyed watching it today, and that if you have, you'll consider hitting subscribe, and in the meantime, I'd just like to thank you so much for watching Retro Tech Repair.
Oops. And off we come with the lid.